Sometimes love doesn't begin with fireworks or fate crashing into your life like a storm. Sometimes it begins quietly. So quietly you don't even notice it's happening until one day your world feels empty without it. For me, it began with a train. Every morning at 7:15, the silver train from Willow Street would screech to a halt across from the platform where I stood waiting for mine. And every morning, without fail, she was there. Always in the second carriage. Always by the window. Always with the same book. At first, it was nothing. Just another stranger in the sea of strangers who passed through the routine blur of my mornings. But there was something about her. The stillness she carried. The way the sunlight hit her face when the train curved out of the station. The way she turned pages slowly like she was savoring each word. She wasn't rushing, wasn't scrolling through her phone like everyone else. She was present, and that presence caught me. The first time I really noticed her, she had a faint smile as she underlined something in her book. I remember thinking, who still underlines sentences anymore? I couldn't even see the words, but the way her expression softened told me that whatever it was, it mattered to her. The train doors shut, her carriage rolled away, and I stood there, my heart strangely restless. The next morning, there she was again. Same spot, same book, same quiet focus. I found myself waiting, not just for my train, but for hers. By the third morning, I was looking for her before I even realized I was doing it. And so it began. Day after day, week after week, she became the rhythm of my mornings. The girl on the train. She never looked up, not once. Her eyes stayed on her pages, or on the window when she grew tired of reading, and I never had the courage to move closer, to switch platforms, to break the unspoken silence. But I watched. And in that watching, I noticed things. How she sometimes closed her eyes and tilted her head back, as though listening to a song no one else could hear. How she wore the same green scarf whenever it rained. How she tapped her pen against the spine of her book when she was lost in thought. It wasn't love. Not at first. Just curiosity. Fascination. A secret ritual I told no one about. But over time, it grew into something deeper. She became the best part of my day. One morning, I woke up late. My alarm hadn't gone off, and I rushed through my routine, half-dressed, and stumbling as I ran to the station. I made it just as my train was pulling in. My chest pounded, not from running, but from panic, because I realized I had missed her train. I stood there on the platform, empty-handed, staring at the track where her carriage should have been. And in that absence, something inside me cracked. I hadn't spoken a word to her, hadn't even heard her voice, but missing her for one day felt heavier than it should have. That's when it hit me. This wasn't curiosity anymore. It was something else, something stronger. After that day, I guarded my mornings like treasure. No more late alarms, no more snoozing. By 7:10, I was always on that platform, waiting, and there she was, second carriage, by the window, reading her book. Months passed like that. Silent, consistent, strange. My friends joked that I was always tired at night, always awake too early in the mornings. None of them knew why. I never told them about her. She was mine, my secret, my quiet love story that existed only between two trains passing in the morning. But then, one morning, she wasn't there. The second carriage window was empty. Her seat, the one she had occupied for almost 9 months, was bared out. I told myself maybe she had taken another train. Maybe she was sick. Maybe she was just running late. But the next morning, she wasn't there either. And the morning after that. By the end of the week, my chest ached in ways I didn't understand. The station was still full of people, trains still screeched and roared, but everything felt hollow. I realized how much of my happiness had been tied to that fleeting glimpse of her. Days turned into weeks. Weeks dragged into a month. And I kept waiting, hoping, searching every carriage, every face. But she never came back. One Saturday afternoon, restless and unable to sit at home, I wandered into a small bookstore downtown. The kind with creaky wooden floors and shelves stacked higher than they should be. I drifted through aisles, barely seeing the covers. My mind was elsewhere on her. Then I froze. On a dusty display table, stacked in neat piles, was the book. The same book she always carried. The one I had memorized by its faded blue cover and worn spine. My hand shook as I picked up a copy. The title stared back at me, and for the first time, I felt close to her again. I flipped it open, and something slipped out. A folded slip of paper, yellowed at the edges. I thought it was just an old receipt or a bookmark, but when I unfolded it, I saw handwriting. Delicate, slanted handwriting. If you're the boy from the opposite train, I noticed you too. My heart stopped. I read again, and again the M.Y. vision blurred, my hands trembling. She had noticed me. All those months when I thought I was the invisible one, watching from across the platform. She had seen me too. Tears stung my eyes as I clutched the note. It was like the universe had pulled the rug from under me, giving me back what I thought I had lost forever. The following days, I returned to the bookstore. Every evening, every weekend, hoping, waiting, praying that she might walk in, that fate would finish what it had started. And then it happened. It was raining the day she walked through the door. Her green scarf clung to her, damp from the storm, and her hair fell loose around her shoulders. She shook droplets off her umbrella and looked around the store. And then, her eyes landed on me. Recognition flared instantly. Her lips parted, her breath caught. For a moment, the world stood still. "It's you," she whispered, almost to herself. I stepped closer, holding the folded note in my hand like proof of our shared secret. "You knew." She nodded, her eyes glistening. "Of course I knew. From the very first day. You always stood in the same place, always waiting. I thought maybe I was imagining it. But then I left that note, hoping." Her voice trailed off, fragile and trembling. "Hoping what?" I asked, my throat tight. "Hoping you'd find it. Hoping you'd find me." And just like that, in the middle of the bookstore, with rain hammering against the windows, the distance that had once been measured by train tracks vanished. It's been years since that moment, but I still think about it often. How love found me not in a grand gesture, not in a perfect plan, but in the quiet ritual of mornings, in the eyes of a stranger who turned out not to be a stranger at all. People always ask me if I believe in destiny, and I always say yes, because sometimes destiny doesn't shout. Sometimes it whispers through train windows, through pages of a book, through a single note left behind. And sometimes destiny sits across from you every morning at 7:15, waiting for you to be brave enough to notice.